So even though Bernie and Trump are completely different from each other ideologically and politically, there are a lot of similarities between Bernie's campaign in 2020 and Trump's campaign in 2016, which is why it's very dangerous to count out Bernie from winning the nomination. My name is Sham Sharma. Welcome to the Sham Sharma Show. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Sham Sharma Show. Thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. So towards the end of last year, Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren were firmly the favorites to win the nomination of the Democratic Party. But in the first couple of months of this year, Bernie Sanders has emerged with a clear advantage going into the national convention and with a clear path to getting the nomination. He's in a very strong position right now. He holds all the cards right now, and he has the Democratic Party pretty much over a barrel.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
So a lot of people within the Democratic Party are still counting Bernie out. They're saying he can't win. You know, he's too radical. His supporters are too toxic, and he will massively underperform against Trump when it comes to Middle America and the Midwest. But what they either don't realize or they don't want to see is that there are a lot of similarities between Bernie's campaign in 2020 and Trump's campaign in 2016. Even though Bernie and Trump are completely on the opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to policy and when it comes to ideology. Just like Trump in 2016, Bernie did very well in the first two states and now has serious momentum going into Nevada and South Carolina. Just like Trump, he has a lot of popular support, his rallies are packed, and he's raising a ton of money. In the fourth quarter of this year, he raised about $35 million, which was much more than all the other candidates. Just like the GOP thought with Trump in 2016, the Democratic Party is saying that, well, yeah, sure, he has a lot of momentum right now, but that momentum is eventually going to fade and a more centrist candidate is going to take over and win the nomination. This is the same kind of thinking that the GOP had with Trump in 2016. They thought that Trump is too extreme, he's too weird. Surely he can't win.
Inevitable.
And the fact that they were counting out Trump in 2016 only helped him and only helped energize his base. And that's the same thing that's happening right now. The fact that the Democratic Party is counting out Sanders is only helping him and is only energizing his base even more. Sanders is a populist on the left, a lot like Trump was a populist on the right in 2016. Just like Trump, Sanders does not want to compromise. And just like Trump, Sanders is also appealing to the voters that are sick and tired of the status quo, that want some fundamental change, that are sick and tired of the regular politicians and the regular politician talk. Sanders, just like Trump, feels and says that the country is fundamentally broken and it is only him that can fix it. Bernie says capitalism is fundamentally broken, so you need socialism. Bernie says that healthcare is fundamentally broken, so you need Medicare for all. He says, how if we don't make radical climate change decisions now, that it will be too late. So he's creating that sense of urgency just like Trump did in 2016, and he's giving the message that it is only he that can fix this emergency situation. Like Trump, Bernie also has a problem with traditional American allies, just like Trump had a problem with NATO because he felt like NATO was not pulling its weight and that the United States was doing most of the heavy lifting when it came to their partnership. Similarly, Bernie also is not the biggest fan of Taiwan and Israel, who are traditionally very strong American allies, and has often criticized these countries in the past. Then come his supporters. Just like Trump in 2016, Bernie has a very energized and a very loyal supporter base. Anybody who comes after Sanders gets trolled pretty hard, and he's very popular among the social media savvy younger voters, as is shown by many polls that he's consistently the favorite candidates of people aged between 18 and 29. And so there's a massive fear of crossing Bernie voters, and it's a legitimately rational fear. People have also been complaining about Bernie's fans and that there's this toxic Bernie bro culture of Bernie supporters, and to be fair, I don't know how much truth there is to it, because Bernie supporters are not the only supporters that are attacking supporters of other candidates and other candidates. I've seen supporters of other candidates do that as well. And so that leads me to the next point, is that there's this shared feeling of victimhood with Bernie and his supporters and Trump and his supporters that the establishment is out to get them and that the establishment is discriminating against them. And Bernie supporters actually have a very good reason for thinking so, because Bernie clearly got screwed in 2016 when the Democratic establishment rigged the primaries in favor of Hillary Clinton. And so anytime Bernie does not perform as well as his supporters expect him to in any of the primaries or in any of the states, immediately they're going to start thinking that the Democratic establishment is screwing with them again. And so that is a very strong, energizing factor for Bernie supporters. And even right now, just like it was with Trump in 2016, the mainstream media is showing a lot of disdain and criticizing Bernie and his supporters quite a bit. Earlier this week, MSNBC host Chuck Todd referred to an article which referred to Bernie Sanders supporters as digital brown shirts, effectively making a Nazi comparison with them.
No, no, no.
No, no, no.
No, no, no.
No, no, no.
And the mainstream media has been consistently counting out Bernie Sanders as a serious candidate, which is making even neutral people want to vote for Bernie, as this lady pointed out.
But I want to say the reason I went for Bernie is because of MSNBC. And
Go on.
I think it is completely cynical to say that he's lost 50% of his vote from the last time when there were two candidates. Now there are multiple wonderful candidates who would be great presidents and people that I think that we can unify and get behind. But the kind of the stop Bernie cynicism that I heard from a number of people, I watch MSNBC constantly, so I heard that from a number of commentators, and so that it made me angry enough. I said, okay, Bernie's got my vote.
Hey, yo, what the fuck? This is such an interesting point.
So that sense of injustice around Bernie Sanders is really helping him galvanize his supporter base and even get in more supporters from neutral circles than he would have otherwise. So there's a real feeling that what Trump did to the GOP in 2016 is what Bernie Sanders could do to the Democratic Party in 2020. And again, like I said, Bernie holds all the cards right now. Even if Bernie finishes second in the national convention, he can make a point that he got screwed out of the nomination just like he did in 2016, and that would really rile up his supporter base. And he can say that, look, if he doesn't get the nomination, he is walking out and all of his supporters are walking out with him. And if he does that, then the Democratic Party is screwed. So just in the space of a few months, Bernie Sanders has the Democratic Party by the balls and they have no idea what to do. And the thing is, the way the Democratic nomination race is going right now, it massively favors Bernie. A large number of candidates and a very confused Democratic race plays right into Bernie's hands. Currently, Bernie has a 1 in 3 chance of getting the nomination, and his other frontrunners, Biden and Warren, are lagging far behind. So the Democrats are saying that they're worried that Bernie is too much of a socialist and associates himself with radical people like the Squad, like Linda Sarsour, who is an open Islamist and open anti-Semite, and snakes like Ro Khanna, which is why I have trouble supporting Bernie as well, because I do not like any of these people. And so the establishment Democrats are feeling like because of these people and because of Bernie's socialism, he will really struggle in attracting Midwestern voters when competing against Trump. So if Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders really care about the Democratic Party like they keep saying, then they need to drop out of the race right now and support an actual viable centrist candidate like Buttigieg or Klobuchar, because right now they're digging into their votes. Warren finished 3rd in Iowa and 4th in New Hampshire, and it's a huge fall from where she used to be just a few months ago when she was leading national polls. So now she's no longer talking about reforming the party. Now she's no longer talking about revolutionary change. Now she's talking about uniting the whole party. Biden also just got 15.8% of the vote in Iowa and 9% of the vote in New Hampshire, and he's still hanging on because he's saying that he's gonna put out this strong performance with black voters in South Carolina. But a Quinnipiac national poll released last week showed that his support from African American voters has fallen to 20% from 49% at the end of January in South Carolina. So at this point, all Biden and Warren are doing is clogging up the race, hurting centrist candidates like Buttigieg and Klobuchar, and helping Bernie Sanders. If they were smart, they would drop out and put their resources behind somebody like Klobuchar, whose message of unity he actually resonates with people, who's actually very popular in the Midwest and can actually be very, very successful against Donald Trump in the Midwest. Donald Trump will have a hard time attacking somebody like Klobuchar because people will feel like if you're making fun of Klobuchar, then you're making fun of people in the Midwest. And that's not going to fly. If the Democratic establishment is truly worried about Bernie Sanders being too extreme and his supporters being too extreme, and if they actually want to support a viable centrist candidate, then Biden and Warren need to drop out and support somebody like Klobuchar, who actually could then have a shot. And I want to ask you as well, do you think that Bernie and Trump's campaigns are quite similar despite the two people being on different ends of the spectrum in terms of ideology and their policies? Let me know in the comment section down below. Again, guys, if you like today's episode, if you like this show, make sure to leave a like, leave a thumbs up. It helps me out. It helps this channel out a great deal. Make sure to share the show as well. Become a patron. Click the link down below. Sign up on Patreon to become a patron as well. You get the brand new mugs that will be shipping out in March, and you get access to the Patreon, WhatsApp, and Discord servers as well. Again, guys, if you like today's episode, if you like the Sham Sharma Show, and you have not subscribed already, then what are you doing? Click over here and become a subscriber of the Sham Sharma Show. Press the bell icon, don't forget that, and check out our videos here and here. I'm sure you'll like them as well. I will see you next time, and until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys soon.